Hello and welcome to another Revel Coach conversation. Today, we are so glad that we are able to talk with Ginnye Cubel. Ginnye, can you tell us what you've been up to? What's going on? What's new with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to introduce myself a little bit, I'm a writer and marketer. I write nonfiction as well as fiction. And then in my professional life, I help real estate, mortgage, and tech companies create human-centered and impactful marketing campaigns. And recently, what I've been up to is I've been getting very interested in learning about and writing about AI, particularly how it's impacting the writing community and how new tools like ChatGPT are coming to the forefront of these AI conversations and how they're impacting writing, marketing, and all that good stuff.
Sorry about my dog there. I was trying to hit the mute button and I was hitting all the other wrong ones. She's not so sure about this AI stuff. And,
Yeah. Also very interested in ChatGPT. I love it.
Well, I have been using ChatGPT quite a lot lately, been outlining things like workshops and coming up with creative ways to be able to incorporate goals that my volunteer organizations have into, viable programs. So that's been really fun for me. But as a professor, boy, it gives me heartburn because I've had a lot of students who have added GPT to their repertoire in writing.
Yeah, so the AI conversation is also really interesting to me too, because it's so, what do I want to say? It's almost polarizing in a way. You have like these two camps of folks who, one is like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. Like it's going to change everything and it's going to be great. Then you have the second camp of folks who are like, oh my gosh, the technology is way too advanced for, our society. We haven't put in place any kind of like safeguards or guardrails, and we're just going to get swept away with this technology and it's going to be terrible. The robots are going to take our jobs. We're not going to have any more like creative art anymore. So it's really interesting how the conversation has evolved. But I think like everything, there's really that gray area and that middle ground of it's really cool and good for some things and not so great for other things. And it's finding that balance and understanding how to use it as a tool where we're going to be able to see the most impact.
That's such a great place for us to start with this conversation because it is great in many ways. And then there are risks in many ways. So share with us like some of your favorite parts about it. Like when you're working, say with your clients, we have a lot of people that watch, a lot of our members are entrepreneurs, authors, coaches. So on those types of solopreneur businesses or the companies that, they need to do some marketing, how is AI or ChatGPT, good? Like, how's it good news?
Yeah. So what I've been using it for and what I think it's good news for is doing some of those kind of like pre-work tasks that you do when you create like writing or marketing, things like, generating outlines, getting a high level synopsis of something, being able to create like an overview, saying things like, hey, I need to make a tweet out of this, turn this into 140 characters. So I think it's really good for those pre-work tasks, as well as some of those, I'll call them maybe more like administrative type tasks where, somebody's like, hey, I need a bio for you, but it can only be 250 words. Drop in your current bio and say, hey, ChatGPT or my AI chatbot, turn this into a 250 word bio. So I think that's really where I see the value as a writer and a marketer. And
I almost feel like I need to share our screen and show people in case they've never seen it before. So Allison, I'm going to tee it up. You keep interviewing. I'm going to tee up my bio.
All right. Well,
yeah, I love that.
Yes. So, I've had the opportunity to see it in action so many different ways. And it is interesting when you take it at the high level experience, it really does do a good job. and, incorporating it from that angle. But my theory is that we humans need to be more intelligent than the artificial intelligence, because I don't think human intelligence can ever be replaced. It might be faster on a robot, but it's not going to have more emotional intelligence. It's not going to have more physical intelligence. And so really using it smarter and becoming smarter than it is what will save, how we can look at it. So that framework of adding that emotional intelligence to it, it certainly can't use any of your experiences, any of the feelings and the thoughts that are private in your head that you don't put into a computer. There's no way that computer can actually know what that is.
Yeah. And I love this too. And this is kind of like a deep dive, but kind of two other like sub conversations that have been coming up about ChatGPT. One is, is it smarter than humans? And, the fact is it's not, because it's trained on data that was generated by humans. So it's not creating these ideas. It's not, connecting these ideas on its own. It is trained by data that has been generated by humans. So it's not smarter than us. It's just taking all of the things that we've already created. And then a second kind of, I will call this like a deep cut. This is like deep computer programming, philosophical conversations is, is ChatGPT sentient? In a way, it feels like it, because you're having a conversation with the chatbot and it's able to generate responses to even like the most bizarre questions that we have. But the fact is it's not designed to be sentient AI. It is a large language model program that has been fed, I think it's something like 170 billion points of data or something like that. And it's basically trying to do like an advanced form of like complete the sentence. So it looks at the first word that you put in there and says, what's the statistical probability of the next word that should go in there? And it keeps going down the row like that until it generates a response. So it's not sentient or intelligent in the way that humans are, because it can't really hold a memory. It's generating these responses based on the data and based on the statistical probability of like the next word in the sentence. So it's not malleable in the way that humans' minds are. And to your point, Allison, it's not, it doesn't have that emotional intelligence. It can't provide any kind of like sensory details. It's not going to give us opinions. It's not even really going to have like a tone or a voice the way that you or I would. So it's, really just kind of a very, very sophisticated chatbot, essentially.
All right. So I feel like I'm going to need a little translation real quick on something that you're saying. So like I grew up not questioning electricity. Like if I want to turn on a light, I don't question the switch. I know it's going to work. And then the internet came when I was it probably came in my 20s, but I started using it more like late 20s, early 30s. Question that a lot. Like, I just don't get how the whole network works, and now I don't question, I just Google and it works. So now with this chat AI and like feeding the billions of data points and how it works. So it's, what you hear on the news, it's going to replace Google or Google created it. Like there's a lot of information, like how did it come to life? Like, and how does it work? Is it owned by anybody or is it just kind of out there?
Yeah. So ChatGPT is kind of like it's like a brand name almost. It's like the equivalent of calling a tissue like a Kleenex. Like ChatGPT is Kleenex, but tissues are the actual object. So ChatGPT was created by OpenAI, which is a company that Microsoft has heavily invested in, especially to develop this technology. So ChatGPT is kind of I shouldn't say kind of, it is an AI chatbot, essentially. But there are others in the tech space who are creating similar AI chatbots that do this kind of text generation. Google is working on their own called Bard. actually haven't caught up lately to see like where they're at with it. As soon as ChatGPT kind of started coming to the forefront of the news in late December 2022, Google was pretty quick to jump on their own version in February of 2023. I know they had some bumps in the road as they started, and I'm not quite sure where they're at with Bard at the moment, but they're creating it. And there's other tech companies out there that are also starting to integrate these AI text generative language models. I've noticed in particular, a lot of the applications that I use have started sending updates saying like, oh, good news, we've integrated AI into the platform. You know, you can now use AI for editing, or you can use AI for text generation or things like that. So I'm starting to see other companies around introducing AI into their current platforms as well.
So is that slightly where the difference is? Like when somebody like Canva just introduced AI, so they call it magic or something like that. You can say like, write a 5-slide deck on whatever subject, and then they'll write one for you.
Yeah.
Is that a form? Is that just like another brand, like the tissue Kleenex? Is it there for yours?
Yeah, it's hard to say. They may be borrowing the technology from somebody else. Like they may be borrowing OpenAI's ChatGPT technology to run their AI interface. It's also possible they've built it on their own. I'm going to guess not, because it takes a really long time and a lot of computing power to do that. So my guess is they're kind of like borrowing or leasing it from another tech company that's already built out that kind of AI text generative model. It's I would equate it to like a third-party integration on a platform. Like if you work on a CRM, you know, sometimes your CRM will say, oh, we can do a third-party integration with, you know, like your WordPress. So, you know, anyone that signs up on your WordPress website gets fed into our CRM. It's kind of similar to that model. They're just, you know, taking whoever built the AI chatbot and plugging it into their platform, essentially.
I'm going to try and do a risk and share my screen, see if we can try this real quick.
I love it.
And if this, okay, I don't know if this is kind of random, but you've got my bio here. And if I copy and paste it, and I'll go over to my ChatGPT and I'll put, make this bio 500 words. And I just paste it in there. And then it's a 500 word bio. Wow.
Well, 500 words is longer than you thought, huh?
It's true.
Yeah.
I was just trying to show the example because I didn't know my bio was short or long.
What's really funny is I'm wondering if it's just saying the same things over and over again.
Outside professional endeavors, Marcy's devoted wife and mother. I don't know.
She ends
Okay,
with a juggling act.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, do it. Now I'll say, do it again in 100 words.
There we go.
Wow. And then I'll say, do it again, but add more results. Wait, I know what I'll do. Add a statistic.
Oh, I like it.
About executive coaching. Executive coaching. I'm hoping, Allison, people can see the screen as we're recording this, but if not, we just typed in ChatGPT and now I have a bio for 500 words, 100 words, and we added one that said executive coaching can improve productivity by 80%, 88%, increase employee engagement by 76%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, as a professor, it's my duty to tell you to verify that 88 and 76%, because what I've discovered is that it's not always correct.
Yeah.
It will ascribe things to, for example, it'll give you a source that's incorrect, and it'll give you statistics that aren't correct, because all it's doing is scraping the internet. It's just finding something that the letters match up. Like you said, it's just predicting word after word after word. So it's finding something where the letters have matched up to what it's predicting, and it will just use that. So if you ask it again, it might actually give you different percentages. And so that's why you really need to be wary if you're using it for an actual presentation or something where you want to showcase your own abilities. If you're looking at high level, again, if you're looking at high level, that's where you go back and then you do the real work to make sure that everything flows and fits and is verifiable.
Well, and you're making such a good point. That's why writers and humans and people that actually have, the thought behind the story is so important. So I totally feel like that's verified it. And then, I mean, I'm guessing, Ginnye, what you do with clients and stuff, you kind of read it. And then from there, now you have a little bit of framework if you need to make it longer or shorter, be like, what do we like? What do we not like?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of going back to my earlier comment too, like using it for pre-work. That's what I also like too, is that it gives you like this framework and this jumping off point. Because I know as a writer and, really anyone, sometimes the hardest part is writing that first word on the blank page. And if you have something there already that you can edit and you can tweak, it can, be much more efficient. It can give you a jumping off point. It can help you connect to new ideas, but it gives you something to work with versus staring at a blank page and going, well, shoot, I don't know how to write a bio of 100 words. Like, what am I going to do? At least you can take what ChatGPT gave you and say, okay, I like this word. I don't like this word. I want to include stats that I have. I'm going to pop that in here, delete this. You have a lot more freedom to work with it.
Yeah. And even like when I'm thinking about just the example of bio, which is not always easy for writers, for people to write about themselves, you can even ask ChatGPT, be like, okay, what are the first 5 steps someone should make when they're writing a bio? And then it gives you prompts of like, think about key, I don't know what it would say, but it might say keywords or experience, or what do you want to be known for to kind of get your wheels turning. So it's really, it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I forgot to mention too, that I've been using ChatGPT for a lot lately, which I think it's been helpful for me. But a lot of times, people will come to me for marketing advice and say, I need to name something or brand something a certain way, and I don't know what name to give it. And for me, that's sometimes hard because I'm like, oh man, I've got to come up with this list of names. You can type into ChatGPT and say, hey, give me 10 names for, this is a recent example, give me 10 names for a youth writing retreat at a conference. And it'll generate a list of 10 names. And they might not be good names, and you might not like them.
But you're no longer
yeah. Yep, exactly.
No longer with the blank page. Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant, right?
Yep.
Exactly. That could be your workshop, Allison, if you wanted to help us. Allison did a great job with getting me out of the fear and unknown with ChatGPT, just trying it. Yeah. And then, she really did a good job of just kind of like how to think differently about it. So
yeah, exactly.
Another thing I kind of like about it is if I were to Google top names, for this thing, or I would Google, how to write a bio, I get a bunch of links and a lot of sponsored links. So it's hard for me to sort through the mud. So by the time I press one that seems right, then there's all these ads. There's so much clutter versus ChatGPT, or I'll say, do it again. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's really good for almost like those how-tos that you go to Google for normally, like how to do something. Because, for me, the real value add of going to somebody's blog or somebody's resource is to get like their opinion and their experience. If I just want a how-to on how to write a bio, you can get it, as you said, much more efficiently, just asking a chatbot.
I had a friend who had gotten a new phone and they couldn't figure out how to do something. So they went to ChatGPT and said, how do I do this on my new phone? And the instructions popped right up without having to sort through all of that other stuff. I was like, wow, that's another brilliant way to do it.
Yeah.
Never would have thought that.
I would say I also haven't thought of that either, but it's so interesting too, because it's serving up exactly what you are looking for and need without, all that clutter in advertising and
Mhm.
sifting through links for credibility.
It-
You know,
It will be
understanding-
interesting though, because everybody wants to monetize stuff. So I know that they are coming out with paid. So like right now there's try it for free. And I know Bing is adding it to their platform. So if you have the most latest Bing, you can actually
Mhm.
just use it right there on their search bar. But I do wonder how you're going to monetize it, because you can't just have it for free forever. It's going to have something. So Google, all those Google ads
yeah.
pay for the search engine. So what's going to happen
Yep.
with this? It will be interesting. And that would be, that it'd be great if it just had an ad like in the beginning, but I would fear that would actually incorporate the ads into the actual, then it becomes more biased because it's been influenced by
Yeah.
who's paying. I have no idea the
Mhm.
algorithms, how that's going to work.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting point too. And I've heard this from a couple different sources, but a lot of people are kind of speculating that OpenAI and Google and a lot of these other folks that are building AI tools, a lot of them are making them available for free, not because that's cost effective for them, but because they want your data to see how you're using the tool. And B, to some extent, you're helping train the tool to become more like fluent in human speech, because, you can kind of subtly train it to say like, that's not the right answer, or, those aren't the words that we would use to say this. So there's a lot of speculation that, these AI tools are being provided for free for that reason. But, that's only going to last so long. Eventually, they're going to be monetized in some capacity, because it
Has to be.
it's expensive. I mean, just the servers alone to manage ChatGPT are enormous. And that's not counting, all the engineering staff you need behind it, all of the other operational expenses. Like they're not doing it for free, that's for sure.
So Ginnye, can I just switch gears a wee bit and ask if there's any trends in like digital marketing? So we have the Chat GPT and what we can do there. What else is there in digital marketing that we can do?
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people start to use ChatGPT for a couple of things. I've seen a lot of people start to use it to generate social media content. That can be a heavy lift for marketing teams or individual contributors who are doing their own marketing. Generating the amount of social media content you need to perform well within the algorithms. So I've seen a lot of people start to use it for that. I don't necessarily agree with this approach, but I have also seen a lot of people start to use ChatGPT to write blog posts and content for website that is SEO optimized. I don't agree with that, only because I think ChatGPT's writing style is very stilted and it's not really a value add. It's just kind of regurgitating data that it already has. However, if you need to meet a certain blog cadence or you need, certain factors to boost your SEO, people are using it that way. So those are kind of the main trends that I'm seeing with it, is generating content. And it's usually focused in areas of marketing where it can be kind of a heavy lift to generate the amount of content that you need to keep to a specific marketing cadence. So it's becoming a tool to help teams become more efficient. I forgot to mention too, and this is embarrassing because I do a lot of email marketing in my professional life, but I've also seen a lot of email marketers start to use AI to create email content and generate subject lines and things like that to help boost their email marketing program and increase the frequencies.
Interesting.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
The thing that I feel like, there's kind of concerns of how much reading people, like the level of reading has reduced from seeing people on the beach with books to now listening to the, it just kind of keeps getting smaller and smaller. And then you have this ChatGPT where it's like, you barely have to write, they're not practicing the skill. So of course you have, whenever something new, like a new trend like this, you have the mother in you that gets worried, but then you have like, wow, this will really change how we just think about content. And I'd love to hear from your point of view, like how you feel this will shift how we think about writing, learning, schools, or anything that you've kind of seen, just, I know this is just like a shot in the dark. It's so brand new to us, but like, I just would love to know, as you're involved in this a lot, like what are some of the things you kind of think about?
Yeah. So kind of the way I'm thinking about how this is going to integrate in with content is, I think for a little bit here, people are going to be really excited about the tool. They're going to be really excited at how efficient it is, how it makes, takes so much less time to generate content. And they're just going to go nuts with it. And they're going to generate a ton of content using ChatGPT. And we're going to see at first kind of a slow, maybe not even a slow, we're going to see a flood of content hit the internet that has been AI created. And I think over time, though, we're going to get really good at being able to tell the difference between AI created content and human created content. And as humans, we're going to start to, it might be really slow, but we're going to start to prioritize consumption of human generated content. And we're going to start being more selective about the content we read. And hopefully, this translates over to search and social media algorithms, where they recognize that human created content is being prioritized and consumed, and it's going to be served up over the AI generated content. Kind of a good example of this is not necessarily related to content, but sites where people can ask questions about coding, because ChatGPT can also help with coding. Sites where people can ask questions about coding and submit like answers to coding problems. They've actually had to shut down and moderate some of those sites because they were just getting flooded with ChatGPT responses and saying the humans were taking responses from ChatGPT and submitting them. ChatGPT wasn't submitting directly to the websites. But they were seeing a huge influx of these responses that were clearly AI generated. And on the surface, they looked correct. But when the monitors and owners of these sites started looking at it more closely, they were like, no, this code isn't correct. Like it looks right, but it's not. And so they had to shut down sites and they had to moderate for that. And I see that translating very well to writing. I can see, people are going to start to use this tool to generate a lot of content, keep up with a specific marketing cadence. But over time, we're going to start to realize it's not actually that good. It's not adding any value. It's, not speaking to kind of the emotional, experiential side of us. It's not going to be giving opinions. It's not going to be giving perspective. It's not going to be adding value. And we're slowly going to start to move away from that. And, everyone's time is pretty limited. You're not going to spend, your precious amount of time reading an AI generated article that doesn't provide value to you. You're going to flock to the writers and the voices and the personality brands and the media personalities who have a voice, who have an opinion, who are able to translate their experience into what's happening in the current world. And we're going to start seeing much more value placed on that type of content.
Well, it is interesting when I used Canva early on, but like when Canva came out, that people would have pretty generic posts that were very marketing creative and they looked so cool when it first came. And then you start seeing the Canva template on another social media. And I instantly was like, well, I know where she got that from. It was unimpressive. So I didn't actually want to follow that person as much. So it's almost exactly what you're saying, that when it is personalized and humanized, it's going to have a better impact and better for marketing. So, well, Ginnye, this has been such a great conversation. I'm so glad we had it. And I would love to just ask the question, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or had more questions, what's the best approach for them to get to know more about your work?
Yeah, absolutely. Best place to start is my website. It's www.glcubel.com. I have all of my writing up there, my nonfiction, my fiction. And then I also have a link on there to subscribe to my email newsletter. That is the channel where I am most frequently posting updates, well, not posting, sending updates and generating content. So definitely encourage everyone to subscribe to my email newsletter. And I talk about writing, marketing, and technology and how it all intersects.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your story with us. We appreciate you being here and everyone else who had a chance to tune in. So on behalf of my sister, Allison Nissen, and I want to say thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to chat.
Revel Coach is a collaborative platform that builds leadership programs for entrepreneurs, coaches, executives, and authors. For more information, visit us at revelcoach.com and follow us on LinkedIn to never miss an update.